Okay, so I've taken a bit of a hiatus to play some Ghost Recon that I got for Christmas. Definitely play that game if you get the chance. The Ghost Recon Breakpoint. It's not bad. It's not bad. So I took a bit of a break to not do things around the house because of the Ghost Recon. But I did want to do a little bit of a update on some things. I'm going to be reviewing military movies, specifically older military movies. Not included in that are like Disney Channel originals, Hilary Duff and Miley Cyrus, Hopey Feely, slapstick and kids. No. Major Pain will be in there though. There was a few things that happened in the news recently that I did want to get a little update on. The new, I guess, policy that the commissaries are using now. Now, honorably discharged veterans can shop at the commissary, and I think this is a cool idea, only because I've done a lot of research on it. I've done quite a bit of research on it over the years, just reading article after article in Marine Corps Times stating that they actually planned on closing most commissaries. So that was a big issue with, I think that was a big decision maker with this new policy. I've heard the argument from several veterans. They're not happy with it. The retired veterans are not too happy with it, and I completely understand. I completely sympathize with both sides of this issue. Yes, people who got out on honorable discharge, 4, 8, 16. They're not. They didn't serve their full 20, but now they have access to the commissary in exchange. So there were a few people I spoke to recently who did not like that honorably discharged veterans now have access to the base when they previously didn't, because they didn't. The base was pretty much restricted to active duty reservists and retirees and medically discharged. Some Purple Heart guys. Guys and gals. So that was kind of the restriction on who was allowed to shop at the exchange and the commissary. Well, this whole thing about them closing was a big deal. The installation didn't have enough clientele to maintain. They just didn't have a good number of people shopping at their facilities to justify keeping them open. They weren't bringing in the revenue. So this thing passed that now veterans can shop on base. And it's really cool. I'm one of those people. Like, hey, I can shop on base. I can shop at the commissary. I can possibly save some money. This does a few things that I think are really cool. One, it now ties more of the community to the military installation, wherever it happens to be. Texas, Florida, Alaska, doesn't matter where it is. If you have veterans in your community around that base, now they can shop on the base. They're tying the military back into the community, when previously they weren't. Almost, I'm not sure how this will work, almost justifies keeping all military bases open. Like, there won't be another closing, because now that community is too invested in shopping at the commissaries. They now they're invested in the symbiosis of the base community and the civilian community outside the base. Also, it'll help on an economic level, not just because those facilities will absorb all the revenue around the base for people who don't have base access. It's not going to absorb all of their tax money, because now the businesses off base now have to compete with commissary prices, and the commissary has to compete with off base prices. When I was at Camp Pendleton, they just finished they hadn't finished it yet, a very large shopping facility next to one of the housing areas. It was almost not worth it to put gas in my car and drive across the 250,000 square acre base, especially California gas prices, just to shop, when I could get on Amazon. I could get on Amazon, I could get on eBay, any of the other online retailers. I could just sit in my barracks room and wait for S2 to pick up the mail. A lot of places off base wouldn't have to compete. They just have to compete with each other. The exchange wasn't an economic competitor as far as purchasing, because only a very small amount of clientele are allowed to shop there. So there is that. I mentioned before, they were planning on shutting down the commissary across the Department of Defense, or at least very select, a broad selection of exchanges. There just wasn't, they weren't bringing in enough to justify it. So I think it's pretty cool that they are doing that, mainly because I get to shop there now. So I have the bias. I finally get to go get some boar's head deli meat, which stuff's expensive off base. I also liken the base. It's kind of a bad example though. The movie theaters. Each military base has well, I don't know about Yuma. But most military bases have an exchange, a commissary, and a movie theater. All the other various services thereof. The movie theaters couldn't compete. It's almost pointless to even have a movie theater other than for large gatherings for safety stand-downs or something like that. You have to rent out the movie theater for 101 Days of Summer safety stand-down or something like that. The movie theater at my local base has pretty much shut down. There's no reason to have it. The last time I saw a sign for anything movie related was, I think it was like 2012, and they were playing the first Shrek. Okay, I don't know if they were doing a matinee or something, but it was almost pointless to even have the movie theater on base when there are 20-something theaters not too far from the base. And everybody has Netflix and Hulu and Amazon Prime, and it's accessible from your phone, so why even bother with any of that? Why even bother going to the movie theater on base when it's showing stuff that you would find on Tubi? So I guess to avoid the commissary and the exchange going the way of the movie theaters, they planned this coming home thing, and it's really cool. Uh, it, and this is just me. I like it. Again, I have that bias. Um, I had to edit it for a second. But one argument I have heard is from retirees is they put in their 20. They deserve the exchange services because they put in their 20 and they retired or active duty, whatever. Somebody who's just a short timer and put in 4 years of service, 8, 16, what have you. They didn't do the long haul. They shouldn't have access to the base commissary and exchange privileges just because of this. And I get it. Totally understand. That's one more thing to incentivize staying on active duty, enlisted or officer. But and another argument I have heard is a riffraff issue, and it's kind of the same with, again, bad example, but food stamps. If you know anybody who's had food stamps, they the dregs of society will use the food stamps, and they might barter with them. I'll use my give you a place to stay and I'll buy your groceries. As a favor, use food stamps to buy other things. Maybe with their drug dealer. So there's really no way to stop anybody from abusing anything, any of these programs. But that is one argument I have heard is, what about the riffraff? What about somebody who is on active duty and decided they're going to get out after 4, they served honorably, and then after they get out, there's nothing for them. So they end up becoming drug addicts, and they hung out with the wrong crowd, and now they're using their base privileges to buy their buddies food. Valid argument. I get that. But again, this is honorably served, honorably discharged veterans. Let's see how it goes. I would like to find out how this impacts the local economies. How is this going to impact my town? How is it going to impact my local area? Is the economy going to improve, or is it going to fail just a little bit? Is revenue going to go up? The tax revenue. Oh yeah, that was the other thing. So taxes are different at the commissary. Instead of a massive amount of tax, you pay a surcharge. And what they've incorporated with this whole thing is the VA is partnered with the exchange services so that the VA gets a little off the top. So that's going to help pay for the VA because all this is incorporated. So I guess that would help pay for some improvements with the VA. Let's find out. But that surcharge thing is nice. I don't know. Let's find out.